Welcome to Truth Report, the show that cuts through the noise to expose the power dynamics shaping our world. I'm Alex Truth.
And I'm Maya Clarity. Tonight, we uncover a disturbing pattern of global instability, from the front lines of geopolitical power struggles to the most intimate spaces of homes under siege. We'll connect seemingly disparate events, revealing the hidden threads of state-sanctioned violence, the weaponization of narrative, and the profound human cost of ongoing conflicts.
Our investigation begins with a look at how the Israeli-Palestinian conflict is spilling into unexpected arenas, weaponizing sports and silencing dissent. Then, we pivot to the grim reality on the ground in the occupied West Bank, where a systematic campaign of displacement is intensifying.
We'll then shift our focus to the volatile border regions of Pakistan, examining a deadly terror attack and the resurgence of extremist violence. Finally, we analyze high-stakes diplomatic maneuvers between Iran and the United States, revealing the delicate balance of power in a region perpetually on edge.
Tonight, we pull back the curtain on the forces driving these events, asking not just what happened, but who benefits, who loses, and what deeper truths these stories expose about our world. Stay with us.
Our first story takes us to the seemingly apolitical world of winter sports, where a veteran Swiss commentator ignited a firestorm by directly linking Israeli athletes to the conflict in Gaza. It's a stark reminder that even sports cannot escape the long shadow of geopolitical tensions.
According to Al Jazeera, Stefan Reyna, a well-known Swiss German-language commentator, used live airtime during a Winter Olympics bobsleigh event in Cortina d'Ampezzo to label the Israeli team as Zionist and accuse its athletes of supporting the genocide in Gaza. This was not subtle commentary, it was a direct political condemnation.
Reyna's remarks during the Israeli team's run were deeply provocative, challenging the notion of neutrality in international sports. He effectively suggested that national representation inherently carries the weight of a state's actions, even for individual athletes. This immediately sparked widespread debate about freedom of speech versus alleged hate speech.
The reaction was swift and polarized. Pro-Israel organizations and Jewish community groups condemned Reyna's comments as anti-Semitic, demanding accountability and suggesting a clear breach of journalistic ethics. They argue that singling out Israeli athletes crosses a line into discrimination.
However, supporters of Reyna defended his right to criticize Israeli government policies, arguing that his comments highlighted the moral dilemma of participating in global events while a conflict with significant humanitarian concerns is ongoing. They see it as a legitimate expression of political conscience, refusing to divorce sports from reality.
This incident underscores the increasing politicization of international events, from the Olympics to cultural festivals. The global outrage over Israel's actions in Gaza has created a climate where traditional boundaries of what constitutes appropriate discourse are being aggressively challenged and redefined.
Who ultimately benefits from such an explicit condemnation? For the Palestinian cause and its advocates, it brings their narrative into mainstream sports broadcasting, forcing a confrontation with the uncomfortable realities of the conflict. It amplifies a voice that is often marginalized in Western media.
Conversely, for pro-Israel groups, it provides an opportunity to frame criticism of Israel as anti-Semitism, redirecting the conversation and potentially leveraging institutional support against such commentary. This narrative often seeks to conflate state actions with religious identity, which can be a dangerous simplification.
The Swiss public broadcaster, SRF, now faces immense pressure regarding Reyna's future. They are caught between defending journalistic freedom and adhering to guidelines that prohibit discriminatory language. This is a battle over narrative control, playing out with a commentator's career hanging in the balance.
This event exposes the profound power of media to shape public perception and the intense pressure on media outlets to conform to dominant political narratives. When a commentator speaks out, they risk not only their job but also becoming a flashpoint in a much larger, global ideological struggle over truth and justice. Our next story brings us to the occupied West Bank, where the systematic and brutal reality of Israeli settler violence continues to drive Palestinian families from their ancestral lands. This isn't isolated aggression, it's a deliberate campaign of displacement.
Al Jazeera's video report paints a horrifying picture, showing Israeli settler attacks repeatedly forcing Palestinian Bedouin communities out of their homes. These are not just clashes, they are targeted acts of intimidation and violence designed to make life unbearable for Palestinians, pushing them to abandon their lands.
The term repeatedly chasing is crucial here. It denotes a relentless, sustained strategy. Settlers, often armed and aggressive, harass Bedouin families, destroy property, and terrorize children, ensuring that the daily toll of existence becomes too heavy for these vulnerable communities to bear.
These attacks are part of a broader, well-documented pattern of land grabs in the West Bank. The Bedouin communities, often living in remote, unprotected areas, are particularly susceptible. Their homes are frequently demolished, their access to water and pasture cut off, and their very presence challenged by aggressive settler expansion.
The video evidence, as reported by Al Jazeera, provides an undeniable visual account of this campaign. It shows the human faces behind the statistics of displacement, highlighting the raw fear and desperation of families losing everything. This is a direct violation of international law, yet it persists with impunity.
Who stands to gain from this systematic violence? The Israeli settler movement, heavily supported by ultranationalist factions within the Israeli government, benefits directly by expanding its territorial control. Every Palestinian family displaced creates more space for illegal settlement expansion, furthering the annexation agenda.
Conversely, the Palestinian Bedouin families lose not only their homes but their entire way of life, their cultural heritage, and their future prospects. They are dispossessed of land they have inhabited for generations, often forced into overcrowded, substandard conditions with no legal recourse or protection.
The Israeli state's role in this is highly problematic. While official policies might deny direct endorsement of settler violence, the reality on the ground shows a clear pattern of military and police inaction, or even direct protection, for settlers engaged in these illegal acts. This complicity is a form of state-sponsored ethnic cleansing.
The international community's failure to effectively intervene or impose meaningful consequences allows this systematic displacement to continue unabated. Resolutions and condemnations ring hollow when the physical reality on the ground continues to shift in favor of illegal annexation, eroding any hope for a just resolution.
This pattern of displacement, documented by Al Jazeera and numerous human rights organizations, is a core component of Israel's occupation. It's a calculated strategy to alter the demographic landscape of the West Bank, consolidating control and making a future Palestinian state increasingly impossible.
Shifting our focus to South Asia, a deadly terror attack in Pakistan underscores the persistent threat of extremism and the human cost of ongoing conflict in the region. This incident serves as a grim reminder of the volatility in former militant strongholds.
According to the South China Morning Post, a suicide bomber, accompanied by a group of gunmen, launched a devastating assault on a security post in northwestern Pakistan. An explosive-laden vehicle was rammed into the wall of the compound, causing it to collapse and claiming the lives of 11 soldiers and, tragically, a child.
The attack occurred in a region identified as a former Pakistani Taliban stronghold, specifically in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa province. This detail is crucial, indicating a resurgence of militant activity by groups like the Tehrik-i-Taliban Pakistan, or TTP, who seek to destabilize the government and enforce their radical ideology.
The military reported that troops had signaled for the vehicle to stop, but it refused, leading to the catastrophic ramming. This suggests a calculated and determined assault, designed to maximize casualties and demonstrate the militants' capability to bypass security measures. The pursuit of the attackers underscores the ongoing skirmishes.
The targeting of a security post, a symbol of state authority, aims to project strength and sow fear within the local population. It also highlights the extreme bravery and immense danger faced by Pakistani security forces who are constantly on the front line against these relentless extremist groups.
The most heartbreaking detail, however, is the death of an innocent child. This underlines the indiscriminate nature of such terror attacks and the profound impact on civilian lives, even when the primary targets are military personnel. It transforms a security incident into a humanitarian tragedy.
Who benefits from such brutal acts of violence? Militant groups like the TTP aim to destabilize the Pakistani government, undermine its authority, and recruit new members by demonstrating their capacity to inflict damage. They thrive on chaos and the erosion of state control, furthering their ideological agenda.
On the losing side are the Pakistani government and its military, who face immense pressure to maintain security and stability in these volatile border regions. Each attack is a blow to public confidence and a challenge to national sovereignty, demanding significant resources and sacrificing lives.
But the greatest losers are the ordinary people of northwestern Pakistan. They live under the constant shadow of violence, losing loved ones, fearing for their safety, and seeing their communities ravaged by conflict. Development is halted, and hope for a peaceful future diminishes with each new attack.
This incident reflects a wider pattern of regional instability, exacerbated by cross-border dynamics with Afghanistan and the resurgence of extremist ideologies. The fight against terrorism in Pakistan is far from over, and these attacks serve as a stark reminder of the enduring threat to global security. Returning to the occupied West Bank, we find yet another distressing report of systematic displacement, confirming a relentless pattern. This isn't just harassment, it's a forced removal of entire communities, as documented by Al Jazeera.
According to Al Jazeera, citing a village leader who spoke to Wafa news agency, Israeli settlers forcibly displaced 15 Palestinian families from their homes in the Jordan Valley. This is a direct, undeniable act of ethnic cleansing, forcing families to dismantle their lives and relocate under duress.
This specific incident in the Jordan Valley is not an anomaly, it's a continuation of the broader strategy we discussed earlier. The Jordan Valley is a strategically vital area for Israel, and the displacement of Palestinians here serves the explicit goal of consolidating Israeli control over the region.
The phrase, forced to dismantle homes, implies a cruel and calculated process. It's not just demolition, it's compelling people to actively participate in the destruction of their own shelters, leaving them with nothing but the clothes on their backs and the trauma of dispossession.
This latest report reinforces the findings from our earlier story. Israeli settlers are not acting in isolation. Their actions are often tacitly, if not overtly, supported by the Israeli military and civil administration, who frequently provide security or simply turn a blind eye to these illegal land grabs.
Who benefits from this forced displacement? The Israeli settler movement and the right-wing factions within the Israeli government who advocate for the annexation of the West Bank. Each displaced family means more land available for illegal settlement expansion, consolidating de facto Israeli sovereignty over occupied Palestinian territory.
And who loses? The 15 Palestinian families are stripped of their homes, livelihoods, and connection to their land. They become internally displaced, often with nowhere to go, further exacerbating the humanitarian crisis in the occupied territories and systematically dismantling Palestinian society.
This constitutes a blatant violation of international humanitarian law, particularly the Fourth Geneva Convention, which prohibits an occupying power from transferring its own population into occupied territory and from displacing the indigenous population. Yet, these violations persist with alarming regularity.
The international community's response, or lack thereof, is a critical component of this ongoing tragedy. Despite widespread condemnation of settlement expansion and settler violence, concrete actions to hold Israel accountable remain elusive, creating a permissive environment for these egregious acts to continue.
This systematic displacement, detailed by Al Jazeera, is a fundamental tactic in the geopolitical struggle for land and resources in the West Bank. It's an aggressive demographic war, aiming to alter the facts on the ground and permanently foreclose the possibility of a viable Palestinian state. Our final story tonight takes us to the complex and high-stakes arena of international diplomacy, where Iran and the United States are once again at the negotiating table, but under a heavy cloud of mistrust and veiled threats.
Middle East Eye reports that talks between Iran and the U.S. have restarted, a development that often signals a flicker of hope for de-escalation. However, the accompanying warning from Iran's supreme leader, Ali Khamenei, casts a long shadow: the Islamic Republic will not be destroyed.
This warning from Khamenei is not merely rhetoric, it's a clear signal of Iran's unwavering stance and deep-seated suspicion towards U.S. intentions. It underscores that despite a willingness to engage, Iran views these talks through a lens of national survival and sovereignty, not as a sign of weakness.
The restart of talks suggests both sides recognize the perils of outright confrontation, particularly concerning Iran's nuclear program and its regional influence. Diplomacy, however fraught, is seen as preferable to uncontrolled escalation, which could have devastating consequences for the entire Middle East.
These negotiations are likely centered on the revival of the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, or JCPOA, which has been in limbo since the U.S. unilaterally withdrew from the deal. Iran seeks sanctions relief, while the U.S. aims to curtail Iran's nuclear advancements and regional proxy activities.
Who benefits from these protracted and contentious discussions? For Iran, a successful negotiation could mean the lifting of crippling economic sanctions, providing much-needed relief to its economy and potentially easing internal pressures. It also grants Iran a degree of international legitimacy as a negotiating partner.
The U.S., on the other hand, benefits from maintaining a diplomatic channel to manage the nuclear threat and de-escalate regional tensions, without resorting to military action. It offers a structured way to influence Iran's behavior, even if the results are often imperfect and incremental.
The biggest losers are arguably the people of Iran, who continue to suffer under the weight of sanctions, and the wider Middle East, which remains caught in the crossfire of proxy conflicts fueled by this geopolitical rivalry. Stability remains elusive, and the human toll is immense.
These talks are a crucial component of global power dynamics, highlighting the delicate balance between diplomacy and deterrence. They represent the ongoing struggle to prevent nuclear proliferation while managing the ambitions of regional powers and global hegemonies.
Ultimately, the on-again, off-again nature of these negotiations, coupled with the defiant rhetoric, reflects a deep-seated struggle for regional hegemony and international recognition. It's a strategic chess game where every move is calculated, and the stakes could not be higher for global peace and stability.
What we've seen tonight, Maya, from a Swiss bobsleigh track to the desolate plains of the West Bank and the volatile borders of Pakistan, is a pervasive pattern of human conflict and the aggressive assertion of power. These stories, though geographically diverse, are deeply interconnected by underlying forces.
Absolutely, Alex. We see the systematic weaponization of territory, culture, and even sports in the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. The Swiss Commentator incident and the repeated displacement of Palestinians in the West Bank are two sides of the same coin, a relentless struggle for narrative control and physical dominion over land.
The complicity of state actors, or their deliberate inaction, in the face of settler violence in the West Bank is undeniable. It's not random aggression, it's a sustained policy of ethnic cleansing aimed at altering demographic realities, directly violating international law while the world largely watches.
And the resurgence of extremist violence in Pakistan, as seen in the deadly attack on a security post, reveals the enduring fragility of regions grappling with internal conflict and external influences. The cost, as always, is paid by innocent civilians and dedicated service members.
Finally, the high-stakes talks between Iran and the U.S., punctuated by Khamenei's defiant warning, expose the raw power struggle between nations. Diplomacy is a tool, but it often operates within a framework of mistrust and strategic maneuvering, with the threat of escalation always looming.
Together, these stories paint a grim picture of a world where conflicts are not contained, where human rights are routinely trampled, and where the fight for power and control dictates the lives of millions. The systems in place, whether national or international, consistently fail to protect the most vulnerable.
This evening, we've peeled back the layers of breaking news to reveal the systemic nature of oppression and conflict. We've seen how governments and powerful groups orchestrate narratives and actions that have profound and often devastating consequences for ordinary people.
The truth is often uncomfortable, but it is essential. From the silent exodus of Palestinian families to the tragic loss of life in Pakistan, and the global reverberations of Middle East tensions, these are not isolated incidents but symptoms of deeper, unresolved injustices and power imbalances.
We urge our viewers to look beyond the headlines, to question the official narratives, and to seek out the voices of those directly impacted by these conflicts. Informed awareness is the first step towards accountability and, ultimately, towards change.
Thank you for joining us on Truth Report. We'll continue to bring you the stories that matter, the hidden truths, and the urgent calls for justice from around the world. Good night.